I do have a couple of thank yous because this is a special screening for all of us. I want to thank our producers, Michelle Anthony, David Blackman, Ben Chatwell, and Scott Hunter. They're all here. And also two key members of my team, Alan Lowe, my editor, which you will see his incredible work in this film, and Winston Hacking, our animator, and you'll see his incredible work in this film. So thank you for all of your work on this. And we will talk afterwards. But now, the man.
What am I supposed to say? Something? I just want to say thank you to Morgan for keeping all the embarrassing moments in that I asked him to take out. But yeah, no, he's made a good film. So thank you, Morgan.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you all for coming. Calm down. Right.
We'll see him afterwards.
Yeah, down this way, yeah. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you very much. Enjoy.
Right. Where are we going?
Fantastic. Right, well, I think in that case, we can make sure our cameras are rolling and that we're setting everything up. And then I can welcome back to the stage Morgan Neville and Paul McCartney. Fantastic. Did you love that as much as I did? Did anybody cry? You kind of would cry, definitely. You would cry just at the idea of it, wouldn't you? Yeah. Ooh, Paul, welcome. Sit down. Take a seat, Chris.
It's exhausting.
Well, that's one word for it. I mean, congratulations, Morgan. What a beautiful documentary.
Yeah.
So gorgeously made. And Paul, so incredibly personal. I mean, very emotional.
Yeah.
To watch, very touching. I mean, how does it feel to you sitting and watching that back in the screen?
It's like drowning. You know, it's like your life flashing in front of you.
Yeah.
It's exhausting for me, you know, because it's such a story. And I'm reminded, you know, we tried to follow the Beatles. It's like, you know, it's mad.
But brave. I mean, do you see the bravery in it now, looking back?
Yeah. You know, I'd actually just seen the madness, you know, but yeah, you know, but I think it was so impossible to do something like that, that the only way you could do it was just in a kind of loony way that we did it. Just, you know, think, yeah, we'll just go back to square one and we'll just go show up at a university, don't book hotels, and just, you take the dogs in a van. And, you know, for some reason we thought that was like a great idea.
But it's all not just artistically, but it's you becoming a dad, you establishing your family. I mean, Colin, why was that something that you wanted to look at? You know, this incredible decade in Paul's life.
I mean, I was at the age where I was buying Wings albums. Those were some of the first albums I was buying. And now I loved the Beatles. I felt like Wings were more my band than my dad was the Beatles fan and I was the Wings fan. And so so I knew this era, there was a lot more to say about it. But then when I really started to, you know, look into it, the questions that Paul was trying to ask of himself were questions that I felt were kind of universal. You know, how you deal with your own legacy and the expectations people have of you. How do you balance your career with your family? And I think in Paul's case, he made them kind of one and the same. And that, I thought, was completely inspirational.
And for you, Paul, I mean, you know, why did you say yes to this project and to Morgan? Why did you want to tell the story in this way?
Well, I mean, Morgan just came up and I could just see he was such a fan, you know, and it was like really genuine. It wasn't just, oh, I want to make a movie to just, I don't know, for money or anything. It was just, no, he really wanted to look into it and do it. So I just realized how genuine he was. So, you know, like all the other stuff, I just said, yeah, okay. you know, because I do that. People say, do you want to do this, you know, on Sunday? I go, yeah. It's not always a good idea, but this was a good idea.
He said,
Well, there's one thing you told me recently that's not in the film about what Linda would say to you when you would present ideas. If you would, that you know, you would have an idea of maybe the van tour or something. Linda would say,
Yeah, I mean, if there was, you know, if there was ideas like that were a little bit crazy, or I'd say, should I do that? Could I do that? And she'd say, it's allowed. And it was like, yeah, that's brilliant. It's a great philosophy of life. It's allowed.
I love that. Paul, I was going to ask about keep all the embarrassing stuff in that you tried to get him to take out. Tell me a little bit more about that, more from your point of view. How did you do it? How did you persuade him?
I mean, the first time you watched it, I remember you had a pad of paper and you watched it with Mary, and I was sitting behind you, you know, freaking out, and you were reacting to it because you're seeing the home movies, and you're seeing your pets, and you're all this, and at the end, you held up the pad of paper and said, "Here are my notes," and it was empty. It was a blank page. And then, you know, we talked about it, and you know, you were very generous with me. That the cut is 100% my cut, and I'm so grateful to Paul for letting me be as tough on him as I was, because I think it's been that toughness and understanding the failures and the missteps that you understand the highs and the successes and the progression too.
And from your point of view, Paul, yeah.
Yeah, that was what Morgan said, you know. I say, even though I didn't write it down, I just said, oh, God, there's so many bits in it that are so embarrassing. You know, Mary had a little red nose, and the look on Henry McCulloch's face. He's not happy, you know. So I was thinking, well, maybe we could just cut those bits and, you know, just some other bits like that. The dance routine. Maybe I should just, you know, cool out my image and just lose those bits. And he said, no, he said, you know, really let me keep them in. Because for the reason he said, you know, you'll see all of that stuff. And then the fact that you overcame it all and found yourself in the end and kind of, you know, won.
Yeah, we see that. We see that in the relationships as well. I mean, obviously, you know, the discussion of the relationship with John, that's the trajectory there. But also it struck me that that's another way, and this is a family portrait. You know, it's a portrait of your family, but as brothers a lot, actually, in the film. That comes up quite a lot. Tell me about that kind of aspect of it, watching something that is so much about your family and, you know, the people in your kind of inner circle, your extended musical family.
Yeah, well, you know, as it shows in the film, I knew John from a very early age, and we were just a couple of rock and roll fans, and we just enjoyed hanging out together. We started writing little songs around at my place, and, you know, my dad had a pipe in his drawer, so we thought we'd smoke it. We couldn't find any tobacco, so we smoked tea. It was like, you know, all those things. We had all of those memories in common. And so we, you know, then we went the whole trajectory of the Beatles. And so he was always just that guy to me, even when he was being really mean, you know, and I was having to just take it. At the same time, it was like, yeah, but it's just John. He does that. You know, he'd always done that. So I think that made it a little bit easier. But, you know, I loved him, you know. I loved all the guys in the Beatles. We had so much in common. And we were like a little magical foursome, you know. I try and think of how else it could have been, you know. But, you know, just with me, John, George, and Ringo. It was just a magic grouping. and we did okay.
You certainly did. And that's very kind of skillfully woven in with conversations with friends and family. Tell me a little bit about that, Morgan, putting that archive together. I mean, that must have been quite an undertaking.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first talked to Scott about it, and I said, well, what kind of archive does Paul have? And he said, well, next to a presidential library, Paul has the best archive. And I got very excited. And there were a lot of people, and Gail and Ben and everybody who spent years kind of helping take everything we can. It also helped that you married a photographer who took this lithoed up pictures of everything and took home movies. The fact that you took so many home movies too.
Well, I thought I'd lost it all, you know, because in the 60s and 70s, you'd have a lot of break-ins where you wouldn't really bother locking your door too much. So fans would come in, just nick a lot of stuff. And so, you know, it's just like, it was how it was. So I kind of automatically just thought, well, it's all gone. But kids at my office were fantastic. They looked in every little, you know, storage unit and every little drawer and everything. And they found it all. And so they logged it. We deal with Hewlett Packard. We were on tour. Instead of taking a lot of money off them, we did a deal where they logged it all, they digitized it all. So it all come together with, like I say, the kids in my office. So it's all there. It's amazing stuff there that I didn't even, I thought we lost it all.
And did anything surprise you? You know, there must have been stuff that came up in the film that you'd forgotten about or hadn't seen for a lifetime.
Yeah, I think all the stuff with the kids and Linda, you know, is lovely to see. I mean, obviously, the Linda stuff was very emotional, obviously, because she looks so beautiful. She's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
So that comes over.
I mean, so many things. But the kind of relatability of what you're doing, of the kind of not second guessing your own creative instincts and kind of going with it, you know, the kind of freedom of that. And maybe some of those ideas were a little strange, but some of them, you know, some of the ideas, you know, like Mole of Kintyre is a strange idea too. You know, so just that sense of freedom, you know, was something that I just loved and drew inspiration from.
There's that lovely comment as well where, you know, you say, well, you're asked with what are you going to do now that you've left the Beatles? And you say, well, my only plan is to grow up. What did you mean at the time? And looking back at it, you know, at that period, actually, what do you think growing up really meant? What, you know?
Well, I think, you know, with the Beatles, we were just lads. Everyone, all our management used to call us the boys. And even though we were like up in our 30s and stuff, the boys. So, yeah. So that we were always like young people. And then when I got married and then there was a baby on the way, I had to grow up. I thought, we can't just go, you know, just being the boys anymore. So it's time to just think about stuff. And so even though the film is kind of madcap and what you're seeing is all our insane decisions, in the background there were some sensible decisions too. You know, we also had like a sensible life. But it's great to see it. I'm glad that Morgan put it together in the way that he did. Yeah, you know, I have my questions about things, but I think it works. I think that's the thing, you know. Overall, it just tells the story, and somehow it works.
Well, it doesn't. And it is very interesting looking at this. You could go back and meet yourself then. Would you give to get through that moment? I mean, it must have been extraordinary.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just say it's going to be all right. But I say that's me. I realize, you kind of go through life and then you start to see yourself, and not just in the mirror, where you sort of start to realize what your character is. That's one of my things, is just when someone makes a suggestion or I make a suggestion, have an idea, you see some people get really heavy breathing, like, well, I'm not sure, we really should do this. Let me ask the management, and let me ask the label, what should I do, So with me, it's like, nah, we're just doing it. So I've always been like that, in shows and film. But, yeah, it's natural to me to do it like that, is to be very enthusiastic about something. And so I don't always see the pitfalls, because I'm not looking for them. Just, hey, let's make some music. So I just enjoy it. So, that's how I do it.
Morgan, some of the voices that we hear in the document forgotten, or do you not tend to forget something? Having written so
I still do them. Yeah, no, there's a couple. There's that one. I'm at the piano. It's all of you, and I just hadn't heard that one for a long time. Arrow Through Me, I hadn't heard that one for quite a while. So, yeah, it's good because they do sound good. And because it's them, it's the young, beautiful me singing it all, So and that was one of the things I was glad that Morgan said, we're not going to film it, we're going to do audio interviews. Because I hate those interviews, where you get someone by a recording desk and they look old and grisly. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's the noise now. Back to them, then, I don't know. Beautiful. It's lovely. And yes, we were. Let's read those things. So he said, but we're not doing that. So, that's cool.
And final question, for either of you was.
It's just when it was finished. It's a heck of a story. So I think that it would be nice if people took away the fact that in my craziness and my enthusiasm, that we did this crazy story, but we stuck with it and we made it work. So there's something brave and about that it didn't have to work out, but it did.
It's such a wonderful film. Thank you both for telling us about